Hey guys, Sean here with Brawl Brothers, and if you're a subscriber to the channel, then you've definitely heard me talk about this topic before, and if you're new here, then welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the difference between average fighters and great fighters, the difference between contenders and the greatest of all time. Let's get into it. One of the biggest differences between the great fighters and the come-and-go champs is that the great fighters are able to be excellent for the entire 12 rounds, whereas the come-and-go champs, they're only excellent in spurts. And that all goes back to training. It all always goes back to training. It's because they don't train to be excellent the entire time. They don't train in a way that breeds excellence. So instead of surviving 8 rounds on the bag, put in 3 hard rounds on the bag as hard as you can go, and then try to improve that. Try to go as hard as you can for 4 rounds. Try to go as hard as you can for 5 rounds until you work your way up to that 8th round, right? Try to go as hard as you can all the time. Never train to survive. Some of the greats like Manny Pacquiao, like Sugar Ray Robinson, like Muhammad Ali, like Floyd Mayweather, like Roy Jones Jr. All these guys had one thing in common, and that's that they were excellent every time that we've seen them step into the ring. They were at their absolute peak every time we saw them in the ring. And you know that they all go through stuff in their personal life. You know that they all go into fights with injuries or feeling less than their best self, but we've still never seen them be less than their best. And why is that? Why are these guys just always so good, so much better than everybody else? And that's because they train so much better than everybody else. And it's not just the amount of hours that they put in the gym, but it's what they do with their time in the gym. One of the things I talk about all the time is that you have to train to the best of your ability, which is why my number one rule is no bullshit punches, because you build habits in training. How you train is absolutely 100% how you fight, and these fighters know that, which is why a guy like Floyd Mayweather boxes with no rounds. He does sparring with no rounds. He does his training with no rounds. That way, when it comes fight time, that little 30-second or a minute break, that's a bonus for him. He didn't even need that. Go watch him versus Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton put relentless pressure on him for 10 rounds, and we didn't even see Floyd take a deep breath once in that fight. Right? We've seen Mike Tyson, when he's at his best, never tired. And then when he's not, we see him gas out in the second round and get put down by somebody that doesn't belong in the ring with him. Right? That's how you know it's not so much about everything that's in your mind. It's about your training. You got to be in shape, and you have to do that consistently. A lot of guys that fought Floyd, for example, made the mistake of training really hard for Floyd. But see, the thing about Floyd was he was training hard the entire time. For 5 years, for 10 years, for 20 years, Floyd was putting that work in. Well, these guys, they only got up for Floyd. They started training harder for Floyd. They started training harder for that particular fight. That's why I never understand when people call Floyd arrogant, because he trained hard for every single opponent. We've never seen him less than his best. At that high level, it doesn't become about what you did in that training camp. It's about what you've been doing consistently for a long period of time. And that's the difference, the main difference between the greats and the average fighters. The guys who are tough, the guys who will destroy most people on the street, but they just never make it that far. They might win a belt here and there, but you just don't hear about them. And that's the fact that they don't just train hard for one training camp. They train hard all the time. And they train to be excellent. When they're in training, they train for excellence. They don't just hit the bag for cardio. They throw to be perfect. They work on every move. They work on every aspect of their game. And if they have a weakness, they improve on it. Manny Pacquiao, when he first started, he was a left-hand fighter. All he had was a good left hand. He eventually developed in front of our own eyes into a guy that can do everything. He had great defense. He had a powerful left hand. He had a powerful right hook. Right? He had everything by the end of his career. He was a well-polished fighter, just as good as Floyd Mayweather in IQ, and just as good as Mike Tyson in putting people out. He was the most complete fighter that you can possibly be. He reached the epitome of what you can achieve as a boxer. And that all comes from training. That all comes from putting the work in. You have to train to be excellent. These guys these days, they train to survive. I talk about it all the time in my videos. When the coach says spar for 6 rounds, they try to figure out how to survive for 6 rounds. When the coach says jump rope for 5 rounds, they try to figure out how to jump rope for 5 rounds. And they do that by slowing down their pace, right? By crossing a lot to cheat and let their shoulders rest. But they don't realize that a lot of that is cheating yourself. In a fight, you're not going to get that courtesy. Your opponent's not going to go, oh, you're tired? Let me ease off a bit. Let me ease off and not hit you so many times. Let me ease off and not hit you as hard. Let me not put as much pressure on you. You're not going to get that courtesy. And boxing is very much a life and death sport. At any moment, your life can end or you could get seriously hurt. Look what happened to BJ Saunders last weekend, right? You see what happened to him. He got hurt, seriously hurt in the ring. Now, I'm not saying he didn't work hard, right? That can happen to anybody. But imagine if he was out of shape, what would have happened to him? The kind of bombs that Canelo would have been able to land on him and do even more damage, right? This is what you got to think about when you're in training. This isn't just about losing. It's about getting seriously hurt, which is why you have to be in shape. You have no choice but to be in the best shape of your life and to have the best possible level of ability that you can have. If you truly want to be a fighter, you have to prioritize your training. And not just how hard you work inside the gym, but how hard you work outside of the gym. What you do to prioritize your boxing outside of the gym. Don't go partying. Don't go abusing your body. Do go to sleep on time. Do get your rest. Do put the right stuff in your body. Drink lots of water. Eat the right foods, right? Take care of yourself in order for you to be able to perform at the gym, in order for you to be able to go without injuries or go without serious injuries. And that difference that makes those great fighters train the way they do, train to be the best, not just train to just be there and do the activity, is mindset. They are focused, laser focused on their goal. And not just focused in a way where they're always thinking about their goal, but they're also aware while they're practicing. They're mentally aware of what they're doing. They do the opposite of turn off their brain when they're at their gym. I've seen so many guys in all my years of training that just work out mindlessly, right? It's kind of like bodybuilding. You see guys in the gym who are bodybuilding, and you see guys that have been working out there for years, and they just can't gain muscle. And then you see other guys who are doing the same motions. They're huge, right? Not only is this stuff that they do outside of the gym, but it's the way they're training when they're in the gym. Their mind is on the muscle. They're connecting with the muscle. It's the same thing that you have to do when you're learning how to box and when you're deliberately practicing the craft. You have to be aware of how you're throwing the jab. Otherwise, you might be building bad habits. You might be flaring that elbow, right? You might be telegraphing. You might be dropping your hands. You might be doing like the little drag, right? You want to be aware while you're in training. You want to focus. You want to laser in and focus on the goal and prioritize it. And when you're in training, you want to focus on what you're doing. Think about your actions. Think about your every move. Think about what you're doing when you're drilling. When you're drilling, some guys just go, boom, hook, boom, hook, boom, hook. No, don't do that. Throw the hook, evaluate. Throw the hook, evaluate. Throw the hook, evaluate and improve. Evaluate and improve. Evaluate and improve. Canelo is one of the best examples of this. Since he's come out on the scene, he's consistently gotten better. Since he's lost to Floyd, he's consistently gotten better. And even since his fights with Triple G, he's consistently gotten better. He's learned different things from each opponent that he fights. Every time he fights, he learns from the other guys. Even the guys that he beat, he steals moves from them. He's learned from Floyd. He's learned from Canelo. He's learned from Triple G. I even see him stealing some of Triple G's drills for punching power in his training. And that's only once he started getting into training for Triple G. He realizes he was going to need a little more sting going up in that weight class, going against a powerhouse like that guy. And he started training his punching power. The guy is always improving. After his loss to Mayweather, after seeing how hard it was to touch Mayweather, he realized, I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy that's that hard to touch. And now, he's pretty much untouchable. It's so hard to hit that guy clean, even when he's the one pressuring you. Right? And you don't do these things without a mindset of self-improvement. You have to constantly think about improving yourself as a fighter. And that's how you become great. And that's when losses cease to matter to you. because they're just learning experiences. They're blessings that allow you to be a better version of yourself because they expose your weaknesses. They show you, hey, this is what you're doing wrong, and this is what you could be doing better. I don't want to rattle off too much in this video, but I love the sport of boxing, and I love fighters. And if you're going to be a fighter, be a great fighter, because being a shitty fighter has just as much a high risk to you as being a great fighter. Maybe even more risk in being a shitty fighter, because you take more damage, right? And there's less reward. So you want to be great. There's a bigger reward, and there's a bigger chance that you leave with your health intact. So if you're going to do boxing, be great at it. Take it seriously, because it very much could be the difference between you being alive and you being dead. Greatness is within you. It's within everybody. It's within you. It's within me. It's within everybody that you know. The difference is not everybody wants to show up on the days that they don't feel good. Not everybody wants to go through the pain of learning. Not everyone wants to go through the pain of constantly getting better. People want to get to their cruise state. Everybody maybe works a little bit till they get to the cruise state where they could just relax and stay at that one place, right? That comfort zone where you're kind of good enough to feel good about yourself, but you don't have to do anymore. You can just kind of cruise through life. But then nobody will ever remember you, and you'll never get to really live life to your full potential. You'll never really get to realize what you're capable of, right? It's like that famous quote: if you only wait on the days that you feel good to do something, you will never get anything done. In this case, you will never be anything. You will never be great if you only wait until you feel good to learn, to improve, to get better at your craft. Take boxing seriously in and out of the ring, and it's the only way you'll be a great fighter. Train for excellence, and you will be excellent during fight time. As always, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit all those like buttons to help this channel blow. I'm Shahan, Brawl Brothers, and I'll brawl with you guys next time.